guess my story is a little bit different. So it was in 5th grade. It was one of those assignments where like the teacher gives you like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you like figure that out. And I remember going home and not knowing what to do. And it was my dad that was like just spitting out like one career choice after another. And it was just like every single time I was like, no, no, no. And then he said architect. And at that time I didn't really know what it was. And he was just like a very vague description, like, oh, they just like design and like build buildings. Like that was it. Like I remember him just saying that and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna do that. And that was like, after I made that choice, it was like, oh, I'm gonna be an architect. Like that was it for me.
I became most interested in architecture as a kid, like most people. Father building furniture and things like that around the house, and I found myself using toothpicks to try to make buildings. I was really creative as a kid, always making something, painting and stuff like that. But I tried to figure out how could I make this into a career. I wanted to make money doing this and having fun. One day, my father just rattled off a bunch of different careers: construction worker, architect, and interior designer, and I heard architect. And I knew that was it. So from a really young age, I was pretty dead set on becoming an architect.
Well, I went through a couple of years in school, the usual bachelor's and master's degree. Came quite a long way from my inspiration from when I was younger. Did a lot of sketching, and my dad was a general contractor. So being taken to construction sites helped to encourage me to pursue this career. And I used to imagine huge cities built out of Lego blocks. So that was fun.
So ever since I was a child, my mother would tell me that I was going to be an architect because she would see me just picking up random objects on the floor and just kind of fashioning things together, which doesn't necessarily translate directly to architecture, but in her mind, that's what an architect did. And so that kind of resonated with me and stuck with me as I grew a little bit older. And so me kind of looking into a bit more about architecture, I found out about a floor plan, and so I found myself sketching the floor plan of our current house at the time. And when she saw that, she was like, yeah, that's it.
And I just happened to find myself in the middle of the architecture school on the main campus, and I just kept being drawn back to that place as a place to go and think. And just over that past week, I'm like, what is this building anyway? I never even knew what building it was. I just kept going back to that same building, that same space. And I was like, well, what is this building anyway? And that's when I realized I kept going back to the School of Architecture just naturally. And something said, just go in and see what's going on and talk to somebody. And I happened to meet the person who was going to be my mentor for the next few years while I was there. And he just showed me around, and it just clicked. Everything just clicked. And so the following spring I joined, and ever since then it's just something that felt so natural. So I never really feel like I'm working.
I took a CAD class in high school. So I was supposed to be in wood shop, but something went wrong with the scheduling and stuff like that. So I actually ended up having to take this CAD class. So when I did that class, because I'm like competitive and there was somebody next to me who knew the program a lot better than me, I was just trying to beat them and get a higher score at modeling certain stuff within CAD. So once I did that, I had talked to my teacher at the time, and he was like, hey, you have a knack for doing this. And at the time, I really like technology and stuff like that. So that's what kind of was like, oh, I think I'm going to go down this path of architecture.
I've had a chance to be involved with smaller projects like daycare centers because I love children, and bigger, large-scale projects like multifamily. So you really get a chance to explore what you like to do and see where your interests are. You're not always in your little desk doing your own work all of the time. You really get a chance to collaborate with people and expand your knowledge base. So it turns out to be really fun.
I love the collaboration process of it. I do like the beginning design portion more. If you have a great team, like I feel like the team makes a huge impact on like whether like you like the process or not. So like even when we're doing construction drawings, it doesn't seem tedious because the team that I work on is just amazing. Like, I love working with them.
Favorite part would be teaming up with my colleagues and creating 3D representations to get the idea of the project across to the client. And I also like sketching and rendering.
For me, the most exciting part is actually the end of it. Just because I like to be able to see that all the stuff we've done come to fruition. So, it's cool. And so I'm mostly working on the production side of things to kind of get it ready for permitting. But being able to get to the CA phase, or actually seeing the construction take place, that is really where it piques my interest. Because as I mentioned a moment ago, just having that hands-on, first-hand experience and to see what you've been working on for the last however many months or year and some change to begin to be constructed, that is a very interesting process to see.
I just find that each project brings a little bit something different, even if it's something as small as just a tenant build out. If I help that person, just their journey in life and put them in a better spot, that's the part that's most satisfying for me.
Started to develop a liking for the theory behind architecture and the actual conversation of architecture and what it does in the built environment. So that's what I like mostly about architecture, and then also like the collaboration. So if I take those theories and take like what's applicable in the real world and things like that, and I'm bouncing ideas off of people, or there's a lot of collaboration going on to get to an end result and stuff. So that's what I like the most about it. That you can see results at the end of the day and say, okay, well, I collaborated, we did this, and this is the end result.
I do like what I do. I enjoy it, and it makes me feel like I'm, bringing a positive contribution to society. So that's definitely a plus.
My advice for someone who wants to be an architect would really just be to just stop and really think about why you want to be an architect. Like, if this is something that you're doing because, you like to draw as a kid, there's so many facets of it, so many other parts of it that you have to ask yourself, like, are you the person who can stay self-motivated? Are you the type of person that's good with trying to, helping influence people?
I would say get into it if it's truly a passion.
That's like one of the biggest things, especially if you're going into architecture. You must, and I say absolutely must have a passion for this field.
Love what you do. You'll never work a day in your life.
Architecture can be fun for people if you're into learning new things, which I love, because there's always an opportunity to learn something new. And architecture can be fun for you if you like to collaborate and learn new things with other people.
You're on scene now, and you have to get comfortable with that in the middle of presenting. So, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really consider, think about as a kid, that you are, in front of a lot of people trying to influence them, and also have a social responsibility to your environment and to your city to create good design that's also design that will protect everyone.
I would say somebody should get into it because you don't deal with just aspects of architecture, you deal with aspects of life. And that's going more towards the theoretical side and stuff like that, but architecture kind of lends itself to everything that a person does in life.